Welcome to our channel. Today, we're sharing the powerful story of Jonathan, the brave son of King Saul, known for his unwavering friendship with David and his faith in God. His life teaches us about loyalty, courage, and selflessness in the face of danger. Join us as we explore Jonathan's inspiring journey. 1 Samuel 18 verses 1-4, 1 Samuel 20 verses 16-17. If you enjoy our storytelling, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and comment below on what Jonathan's story means to you. We'd love to hear your thoughts. The story of Jonathan, the child of Lord Saul, is one of dependability, selflessness, and a profound understanding of God's will. Despite being the common beneficiary to Israel's position of royalty, Jonathan's activities throughout his life illustrated a significant commitment to exemplary nature and a surprising fellowship with David, the long-term ruler. Jonathan's travel offers profitable lessons in mettle, lowliness, and the significance of trusting in God's arrangement over individual desire. Jonathan, to begin with, shows up as a courageous warrior, driving Israel to triumph over the Philistines. In a time when Israel confronted consistent dangers from its adversaries, Jonathan stood out for his confidence in God. In one striking occurrence, he drove a brave attack on a Philistine station, went with as it were by his armor-bearer. Trusting in God's control instead of the quality of his armed force, Jonathan said, "Nothing can prevent the master from sparing, whether by numerous or by few." 1 Samuel 14:6. His confidence was remunerated, as God allowed an incredible triumph that day. This story highlights Jonathan's mettle, established in his belief in God, instructing us that genuine bravery comes from confidence instead of dependence on human quality. Jonathan's confidence and dependability amplified past his part as a warrior. When David, a youthful shepherd, murdered Goliath and became a saint in Israel, Jonathan promptly recognized something extraordinary in him. The book of Scriptures tells us that the soul of Jonathan was sewed to the soul of David, and Jonathan adored him as his soul. 1 Samuel 18:1. Despite being the ruler of Israel, Jonathan shaped a profound and magnanimous companionship with David, who was quickly picking up ubiquity. In an exceptional act of lowliness, Jonathan took off his illustrious robe and armor and gave them to David, symbolizing his acknowledgement of David's future as Israel's ruler. This act of companionship was not a fair and passionate bond but an otherworldly one, as Jonathan saw that God's favor was upon David. Rather than clinging to his claim to the position of authority, Jonathan chose to bolster and secure David. This companionship educates an effective ethical lesson: almost genuine selflessness and lowliness. Jonathan's eagerness to deliver his illustrious legacy shows us that genuine adore and companionship is based on supporting others, indeed at extraordinary individual fetch. Be that as it may, Jonathan's dependability on David put him in a troublesome position with his father, ruler Saul. As Saul's envy toward David developed, so did his craving to murder him. Jonathan found himself torn between his devotion to his father and his companionship with David. When Saul, to begin with, endeavored to slaughter David, Jonathan mediated, thinking with his father and convincing him to save David's life. Jonathan's defense of David illustrates the ethical lesson of standing up for what is right, indeed when it implies contradicting those closest to us. Saul's contempt for David, in any case, as it were, escalates. Despite Jonathan's endeavors to secure his companion, Saul proceeded to look for David's life. On one occasion, Jonathan cautioned David of his father's plot and made a difference in his elude. Jonathan's choice to ensure David, indeed at the hazard of rankling his father, shows us the significance of devotion to honesty over dependability to control or individual pick-up. Jonathan caught on that God had chosen David to be the other ruler of Israel, and he was willing to stand by God's will, indeed on the off chance that it implied opposing his possessive father and losing his position as sovereign. As David went into stowing away, Jonathan and David met subtly to reaffirm their pledge of fellowship. Jonathan communicated his confidence that God's arrange for David would be satisfied, telling him, "You should be lord over Israel, and I should be following to you." 1 Samuel 23 verse 17. Jonathan's words reflect his profound belief in God's sway. Even though he was the legitimate beneficiary to the position of royalty, Jonathan acknowledged that David was God's chosen ruler, showing us that genuine confidence implies submitting to God's will, indeed when it does not adjust with our individual wants. The pledge between Jonathan and David was one of profound otherworldly noteworthiness. Jonathan vowed to secure David and his relatives, indeed after Saul's passing, and David made the same guarantee to Jonathan's family. This pledge focuses on the next ethical lesson: the significance of keeping guarantees and being loyal to our commitments, particularly in times of trial. Jonathan's dependability amplified past his companionship with David. Despite knowing that David was God's chosen Lord, Jonathan remained loyal to his father, Saul, and proceeded to battle nearby him in Israel's fights. Jonathan's choice to stand by Saul, indeed even though he knew that Saul was in resistance against God, uncovers a significant sense of obligation and loyalty. Jonathan's activities educate us the esteem of remaining steadfast to those we are called to serve, indeed when it is troublesome or when their imperfections are apparent. Deplorably, Jonathan's life concluded the front line. He kicked the bucket battling nearby Saul in a war against the Philistines. His passing was a terrible misfortune for David, who grieved profoundly for his companion. In his regret, David honored Jonathan's memory, lauding his devotion, bravery, and selflessness. "I am troubled for you, my brother Jonathan. You've been exceptionally wonderful to me. Your cherish to me was brilliant, outperforming the adore of ladies." 2 Samuel 1:26. Jonathan's bequest was one of keenness, devotion, and adoration, qualities that would be recalled and celebrated for eras. Jonathan's story too portends the coming of Jesus Christ. His eagerness to lay aside his claim to the position of authority for God's will mirrors Jesus' giving up. For as Jonathan gave up his regal legacy for David's sake, Jesus gave up his magnificent position of authority to come to the soil and offer salvation to humankind. Jonathan's conciliatory cherish and dependability point to the extreme act of cherishing and giving up that Jesus would illustrate on the cross. Besides, the pledge between Jonathan and David reflects the modern pledge that Jesus would set up with his individuals. For as Jonathan's adoration and commitment to David were immovable, Jesus' pledge to humankind is unceasing, fixed with his blood. Through Jesus, we have the guarantee of salvation and interminable life, a pledge that cannot be broken. In the end, Jonathan's story may be a capable confirmation of the values of confidence, dependability, lowliness, and trust in God's will. His life reminds us that genuine significance isn't found in control or position but in caring, cherishing, judgment, and a heart adjusted to God's purposes. Jonathan's case calls us to be bold in our confidence, faithful to our companions, and willing to yield our aspirations to take after God's arrangement. For as Jonathan pointed to the long-term rule of David, his life focuses on the more prominent ruler, Jesus Christ, who adores and gives up and offers recovery to all.